Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the only operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our podcast today. Now, if you have been with us before or you are new, you will realize that what we do is we kind of discuss one single horror film with each episode. We kind of do a deep dive, critique, analysis, talk about our love of the film, which would be with me and a special guest. Now, my special guests are different every week to give you a different perspective on each of the films from some of the people out there who really love horror, just like we hope you do. Now, that being said, you are in the middle of our franchise month. So what we've been doing is we've been kind of releasing a plethora of episodes per franchise, kind of taking a deep dive into each one of the films that are part of a particular franchise. This episode right now is going to be part of the Poltergeist franchise. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, this is not the original 80s part of the trilogy of Poltergeist, but instead it is a 2015 remake of Poltergeist. And to discuss this movie with me today, I want to welcome our special guest, Jim Adams. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so special.
Jim has been on the show many times, and he and I have been discussing each one of these Poltergeist films almost exclusively. So it's interesting to talk about the remake of Poltergeist.
And we haven't always agreed.
So getting to Poltergeist 2015, which has a whole new cast and it's been modernized for modern day audiences from Ghost House Pictures. If you're familiar with them, it's also led by Rob Tappert and Sam Raimi, and I forget who the third person of Ghost House Pictures is, but you'll forgive me when I forget your name. But Ghost House is known for many great horror films, of which this, in my opinion, is not one of them. So for you, Jim, I would like for you to tell everybody your impressions or your kind of early thoughts about this film before I get into mine.
Okay. Well, now the one thing about this movie that surprised me, and I didn't see it when it came out in the theaters, and it was a while. It was a while before I saw it. It came out just before I had my heart attack, and my mom got real sick, and so I wasn't seeing a whole lot of real movies. Mm-hmm. So I saw it streaming when it came out the first time. I think it was about 5 years ago. I had just moved to Atlanta, and I remember it surprised me how literal it was trying to be with the old one, with the original. Although they went in a darker way. I mean, it was a much darker film than the first one. Mm-hmm. But scripting, it was almost like the same movie as far as things that happened in it and all that, which sort of set me back a little bit. I mean, it was like, wow, that's sort of unusual. I figured they'd changed a few things up. And they just made them a little darker and a little more violent. And it's, the Sam Raimi touch on it. But I was surprised they didn't change the story in any way. Basically dealt with a house that was built on top of a graveyard, and the ghost didn't like it, and terrorizing this family. When all was said and done, I mean, it didn't stick with me, because when we talked about doing Poltergeist, and you said, "Well, do the one that came out in 2015," it was like, "Oh, I don't think I've seen that." And I sat down and watched it about 6 months ago, and it was like, wait a minute, I've seen this. So I was like, that probably sort of speaks volumes as far as, okay, I mean, I made it all the way through. I like some of the people that are in it. I'm a big Sam Rockwell fan. But it wasn't the best movie I'd ever seen. It wasn't the worst either. But I mean, I liked it probably a lot more than I thought it would, because usually when they do these reboots, I go into them very cynical. But I was really stunned at how much the script was a lot like the first one. In fact, they even gave Steven Spielberg a writing credit on this movie because, so much of the script was almost exactly like the screenplay he wrote for the one in the 80s. So I did just sort of nothing to get excited about.
So I did see this when it originally came out at the theater. So I saw it at the theater, and I did not like it then. And when I rewatched it 10 years later, so it's been 10 years since this movie was originally released.
Right.
This is only the second time I've seen it now, and I still don't like it.
Well, I've only seen it twice too, so we're alike there.
I was hoping that my opinion would have changed, but I do not like this movie for a lot of reasons. This movie for me, and I'm seeing it much differently than you saw it, took Spielberg's original script for the first film and bastardized it to the point where it streamlined everything that made his magic with his film. They've cut the characters down. They've cut the setup for all the characters. They've even made this feel like it's a ripoff of the Amityville Horror. Let's have a poor family.
Yeah, you're right on that. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah.
This movie is filled with so many bad cliches of what came after Poltergeist. I could not get past them. And Sam Rockwell, God bless that motherfucker's heart. I love him in most everything he's in. And he's good in this movie, but you know what? Nothing else for me in this movie is. There's one great thing in this movie. We're going to get that in a minute. But because I felt that this movie bastardized the first movie, the original movie, I hated it. And when rewatching it, I was going to give it a new chance because they essentially took the story elements but kind of changed them because they're not called the Freeleys anymore. They're called the Bowen family.
Yeah, the Bowen family, right.
They're the Bowen family, and they're a more modern family because it's a modern day age.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the house they're getting is they haven't lived in it at all. This is a new house that they're getting. It's designed to be a house from the old days and not modern enough for them.
Yes.
The original one, it was a modern day house in a new.
It had just been built. Yeah, it'd been basically been built. Yeah.
So you have all these modern technology in here, cell phones, drones, and all this kind of kooky new stuff.
Yeah.
Flat screen TVs and everything, which are supposedly really hard to bust for some reason because the Griffin character, the young boy in there, has a trouble stepping on. Or it's not just Griffin; it's also the daughter, which I can't remember her name.
Kendra.
She has, her little incident with the TV as well. But the thing for me is, you're right. It is a darker film.
Oh yeah, very much so.
It's a much darker film. But my biggest problem with this film, because they shortchanged so much in the setup that the original had, the characters seem like cliched caricatures of bad movies I'd seen over the last 20 to 30 years.
Can't argue with you on that. Yeah, I can't argue with you on that.
And with that, it just seemed like they weren't trying. They were not trying with this film, even by having the ghost hunting Jared
Harris. Richard Harris's son, yeah.
Yeah, Jared Harris as the cliche ghost hunting guy who really is a real ghost hunting guy, I thought was the most ridiculous thing known to mankind. I was like, you're going to set him up as being like a typical ghost hunter who no one believes in real life anyways.
Right.
And he really has. When he comes on the scene, he really has believed it. Now, I'm getting very fast in the film because this really bugged me, and I liked it, and it bugged me at the same time. So when they introduced him to the family, it is straight out a copy / ripoff / homage to the sequence in The Exorcist when Father Merrin first comes to the
It is very much that. Yes. Yeah, I'll give you that. Absolutely.
It is. Jared Harris steps out of the taxi because it's a taxi.
It's almost identical.
Puts on his hat. And he puts the kid. And the kid's been watching him with using the drone. Now, I do like the way they use the drone in this movie.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, that was sort of one of the
technology in this movie is well done. I do like some of that. I just think that because they tried to make it as modern as possible with new technology and new ideals, like the ghost hunting guy, it kind of takes away from the seriousness of this family dynamic. Because like Sam Rockwell, bless his heart, he's working really hard to sell this father character.
Oh, they waste him in this. He's so wasted in this movie. I'm with you on that. That is one of the problems with this film.
Even Rosemary DeWitt, who I like, is like, oh my
God. Oh, she's just like window dressing in this.
And the thing is, I've seen a lot of Ghost House pictures, and I'm usually not down on. I don't usually down Ghost House pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a lot of great remakes, but this one's really, really just irks of studio interference. Or this is like, we're doing this because the studio wants a remake, and they're gonna just get whatever we put together. It doesn't seem like anyone tried with this movie, and that's the problem I have with it, because it feels like so many other bad cliche movies, haunted house movies out there. It diminishes what the film could have been, because there are some great sequences.
No, I agree with you on that. And again, when we talked about Poltergeist 3, we sort of ran into that where it was trying to be more style than substance, and that really hurt the film.
That is exactly what this movie does. It's more style than substance. You are absolutely correct. That is a great way of putting it. The two sequences I will try and mention here is the one with the tree sequence where
that was awesome. Yeah.
Where Griffin is afraid. Now, Griffin, I hate that character. That character is like a scaredy cat of everything from the very
just a whiny little kid. Yeah.
And there's no setup for any of this. The only thing you get is the background. He got left in the mall by himself. But the parents think, well, it didn't seem to bother him. He was too young. Well, then why is he so skittish at everything? Like, you give this character some kind of depth, because he's this kid seems like he could pull off some more character-based stuff, but he doesn't, because he's like told to do one thing and he does it really well, but it's annoying. But that tree sequence where the tree scares him.
That's an awesome scene, yeah.
And the branches come through the top window of the house. And then it goes through the house. The tree branch as a large hand comes through the house and grabs a paralyzed, physically and visually paralyzed, because he gets stopped, frozen in time at the top of the steps, and then drags him from that spot way back outside the top window of his room and outside. That is
it's a good sequence. It really is good.
It's a great sequence in the movie. It's a great sequence.
And then watching him being thrown around in the tree when the parents are driving back into the driveway.
I mean,
that's very effective. That was very effective. Yeah.
That's a very effective sequence. I love it. I had forgotten about it because I literally in 10 years forgot about this movie completely. And the other sequence is when they go into the other world. Now,
yes, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
They used, and this is where the drone gets used again. A great sequence with Griffin, who's flying the drone into the other world, and you see all the souls of all the people that are in the house. Now, to be honest with you, I think that's way too many freaking souls, because they're in the whole neighborhood should be haunted, like we've discussed about the first three films.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's like all the neighbors should be having problems too. Yeah.
But all the souls seem to be congregated in the one house. There's like 200 souls and bodies just fooling around. But it's a cool visual sequence. And for the first time, we get to really see it better than what we saw in Poltergeist 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, much better than. But yeah, no, I can't argue with you on that at all. And I keep thinking that some of the problem, we'll talk about Gil Kenan a little bit. Gil Kenan, I think, was trying to make a Sam Raimi film. That's because I saw some of the same problems you did. And I get, this movie was almost like trying to decide to be a Sam Raimi film, but you can't make a Spielberg Tobe Hooper film into a Sam Raimi film. And I think that's why it came across as so goofy.
It is goofy because there's these bits of humor that don't play with me.
They don't fit. Yeah.
They don't fit, like the very end scene.
You get ultra violence, and then you get this humor thrown in, and it, Raimi was a master at doing that in Evil Dead and stuff. And some of his other films, but did it very well in Darkman.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work here at all.
Well, it doesn't work because these characters never get past being caricatures.
That's why I'm so surprised that they tried to copy the script from the 80s so much, because, I'm sorry, folks, you can't remake a Steven Spielberg film. I mean, if you're going to try to do that, I mean, I don't know a studio head that would ever think that that's a good idea, because you can't. Spielberg can make a Spielberg film. they're that unique, and there's other directors that I believe that with as well. But that's, you know, they're trying to make a Spielberg film like Sam Raimi would make it. It's like, no, that didn't work for me at all. But I didn't hate this movie, but I hated that Sam Raimi is being, not Sam Raimi, Sam Rockwell is being wasted. And Jared Harris, who is a brilliant actor, is totally being wasted in this one too. I think this must have just been a movie he did for the paycheck.
I think the thing about him in this movie is I actually believe that he's one of the strongest elements in the movie, for the fact that he is like a Zelda Rubinstein, is they know exactly what type of movie they're in.
Absolutely,
whether the film knows what type of movie it wants to be or not.
Yeah.
He plays his character, which is
I've got his name here.
Burke.
Yes,
Burke. He plays this Burke. He plays it to a T, and he plays it really well. And his character's bits of comic repertoire with his ex-wife is really great. And the sequences where he's talking to the Griffin, and he's being dead serious about all his wounds and stuff. Those scenes come off as very genuine and very,
didn't that remind you of Jaws?
It did.
In the boat scene where they're comparing scars, that's what it reminded me of. Yeah.
That's the problem. If this movie reminds you of so many other better movies,
of other Spielberg films and stuff. Again, I think Gil Keane was trying to make a Spielberg movie, but he's working for Sam Raimi, and Roy Lee is the other guy you're trying to think of in Ghost Pictures.
Thank you.
That was the third guy.
I knew there was the three, but I always forget.
Yeah, there's three of them. Yeah, because they all take production credits in this.
But the thing is, it's a well-made film technically.
Technically, it looks great.
For 2015, it delivered regarding the scares, the jump scares especially, the visual horror and all that type of stuff. But the problem is it's saddled with the fact that it's called Poltergeist, and people assume it was a remake. Now, I am going to take a page out of your book that we've been discussing over the course of this franchise, in the event that you want to see what happened to some of the other families that happened on the streets. That's how.
Yes.
This film could be a splinter off of that, considering that they chose to do the Bowman family, and then the fact that that they don't, they have nothing to do with the development of the houses. They actually find out about where the houses built on the cemetery through a dinner party. It's not stuff that's relayed back naturally.
They give it all away very quickly in this movie. That did surprise me.
They streamline the story.
Yeah, you find out they didn't move the bodies.
Yeah,
a lot quicker than you did in the other one.
And it's all expositionally done, with the original film, because they had so many extra characters. It was like, well, we saw these scenes with Craig T. Nelson, who's successful in his job, and he has these conversations with his boss about the neighborhood and where he's going to go. And you get you get a sense of the character of the whole neighborhood.
Yes,
in the first film. Whereas in this film, you never see anything else in the neighborhood ever.
No.
This is a really contained film to a single house, and you never get the sense of you never see their neighbors. You get the sense you get told really early on by the realtor that the reason why they're getting the house so cheap is because a lot of houses were foreclosed upon, which means the house is cheap. Blah 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 blah.
Well, again, this is 2015, and the economy wasn't the greatest. It was. We were just coming out of some really bad times. That it was starting to come around. Yeah, the economy was starting to come around, but a lot of people had lost jobs over the the big recession of 2008 and whatever.
And I guarantee you, that's one of the ideals that they were trying to.
I think so. Yeah,
put in this movie, because like Sam Rockwell,
that one surprised me. That Rockwell's this guy's out of the work, he's been laid off, and actually, Roseanne DeWitt's character is sort of supporting the family or whatever.
Yeah, she's got her little writer's block trying to get
right.
you have kids who are obsessed with cell phones and technology. Um,
Yes.
it's a very modern film
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
for audiences of 2015. The daughter who talks back, especially when she doesn't get her way in regards to after her cell phone is fried.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It never seems like that wholesome family dynamic that the original
Oh,
had.
it's not. No, it's not there at all. No.
And so this family seems much more disconnected than the other family. And this film is the film is not necessarily short, but it's also not necessarily long.
And
So
the suggestion that Eric Bowen, the Sam Rockwell's character, may have a little drinking problem
yes, yeah, that
to
was
go along with it. Definitely, that's definitely
yeah,
thrown
yeah.
at you.
Well, yeah, and he stops drinking when his wife says that she needs him to be supportive while they're investigating this whole thing, and so we see the scene where he's pouring out the drink. His drinking problem lasted all of about 2 scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's stuff like that. Like it's like the writers went through and just said we need to give these people as many problems as possible for no reason to just give them problems. Oh, he's drinking because he's out of work.
Yeah, yeah.
That's literally the only reason.
No, that's it. The only reason they give you.
But he also is someone who thinks he can fix everything around the house. So he's not lazy. He's not, he can't.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he, doesn't fix anything right. So that's where I come in. And I think, all these characters are caricatures and not real characters. I never feel at any time that these characters are real characters. Even Griffin, when Griffin becomes self-sacrifices to go in and get Caroline.
Well,
it's not Caroline.
She's not Caroline. She's Maddie.
Maddie. Right. I was like, we've been talking about the original trilogy, and now Caroline's stuck in my head. When she goes,
I know.
When he goes to go get her, I'm like, oh, okay. So you give the mother and father even less to do in this movie by focusing so much attention on the Griffin character. He's skittish, he's afraid of everything, and now he's not afraid of everything because he feels bad that he left his sister alone to be sucked into the netherworld.
Yeah, the old "I'll go get some help." Boom, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and of course it throws me off a little bit that it for plot reasons it works that when Griffin goes into the netherworld, wherever we're going to call it, the other side, we'll call it the other side. So it's the second side, call it the other side. It goes to the other side. He's following with the rope in this other side,
and being guided by the drone and all that stuff.
And all of a sudden, when he loses the rope and the rope comes through on the other, like on the right side from the other side, I'm like, so how is he going to get back if he doesn't know where he's going? But plot wise, he makes it back. They both make it back, and they think they've survived their ordeal.
Well, this movie does that a lot, where you think, okay, everything's going to be fine. Then, nope. They get pulled back in the house, and it keeps going.
Yeah, well, that's
a couple times they do that.
That sequence where they're trying to leave and they can't leave, I thought was real cool, but I also thought it was stupid because you have the Poltergeist being able to affect things on the outside.
Yes.
Now, from my perspective, for this film, if you're ignoring the fact that the original Poltergeist 2 and 3 kind of made it seem as though Carol Ann's psychic, just like her mother's psychic, just like her, and that's part of the reason Kane keeps coming after her.
Yeah.
What is the reason for the ghost at this house to keep coming after her?
I don't know.
The second and
they don't give you a reason.
They don't give you a reason. The second film second and third film give you a reason for why events unfold. But in this movie, the Poltergeist just like her because they think she can lead her to the light. And I'm like, well.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to make her like Carol Ann. She does do they're here with the TV and all that. But it's, I agree with you. That's why when I say I'm really surprised at how literal they tried to use Spielberg's script, it doesn't work in the context that they want to use it in.
No, I think and I give it more credit than I sometimes it should. I mostly because they changed the name to the Bowen family, and so I try and think of this movie as a side story to the original one, as this is just another
Yeah,
family.
no, they just changed the name of the family.
Yeah, they just and I don't really know why. Like, if you're gonna make a remake, why are you changing it to a random Bowen
Oh,
family?
so no one confuses it with the Tobe Hooper movie. I guess
I
I
was
don't
like,
know. No,
yeah,
I'm with you. I have no idea.
that's
There's
a
no reason to,
weird change.
you know. And why does you do have a you do have a woman who is the first parapsychologist you see in here, Jane Addams, and it's no relation to me. She's no relation to me. And all that. But then uh, when you bring in Jared Harris's character, the TV thing just sort of that was one thing where I just sort of they lost me there a little bit. I mean, I stayed with it because I like Jared Harris.
Oh no,
Uh,
he's
you know,
actually really good in this
I
film.
got to know him casually when he was in college. He went to school at Duke University, and I was working for a big exclusive restaurant in Durham at the time. And he brought a bunch of people in to celebrate a film that he had made, and because he was a film student, and his father financed it for him, so it was like $60,000 back in the mid '80s. But nice guy, he was a really nice guy. I was glad to see that he did well.
Oh,
Um, but in fact, in some ways, I think he's a better actor than his father was. But um, but the character, that's the one character that's sort of like they say, a turd in the punch bowl. They didn't need it. They didn't need him. In the first movie, you had the woman, and I guess he is supposed to take the place of the Tangina character
yes.
in the first one. But um, I would have much preferred seeing a Zelda Rubinstein type character, reprised than this TV guy who you don't really know if he's for real or a con guy. But yeah, no, he is real. He really does believe or whatever. And then, he's got this TV show. It's just
Well,
that sort of turned me off.
well, the thing is, in the '80s, psychics were, probably still being used for police investigations and stuff like that. So people thought,
Oh yeah, no, that's yeah. I mean, you had the psychic hotline, which everybody,
yeah,
total scam.
I
Sorry,
remember.
folks, if I insulted some people, but
Yeah, but by 2015, there's no one really believing in psychics, so they had to change it up a little bit.
yeah, but you have all these Ghostbuster shows. I mean, these ghost hunter shows back
Yeah,
then. So
well, he is a
that's
ghost hunter.
yeah, no, that's what he's doing. But it's like, okay, guys,
uh,
I mean, in the original Poltergeist, those ghost people were based on an actual institute that was at Duke University called the Rhine Institute. They had a little office there at the Quad. Nobody really took them seriously because this was the '70s,
mhm.
and but I mean they were the ones that set the table for all these other ghost hunting type groups. And Tobe Hooper said, that he based the people they brought in the first movie on these people from the Rhine Institute, which were at the time were the only people that were going out and doing legitimate investigations into strange evidence of the paranormal or like that, using all this technology and stuff like that. What we had in the '80s at that time. So I don't know. I guess they figured, okay, well, this is 2015, so we'll bring in the ghost hunters, like the Ghost Hunters TV
Pretty
show.
much. And they cut the amount of time you get to be with the actual paranormal investigators in this.
Yeah, they do not spend much time with it in this one.
Like we get a good amount of time in the original Poltergeist with those
Oh yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff, particularly that's revealed in the original film with those characters that is just simply cut from this.
There is a phenomenal scene. I don't know if we talked about it when we talked about the original Poltergeist. It's still one of my favorite scenes. It was so subtle, where they're showing everybody's asleep, and they've got, of course, there's one person awake. They always have someone on awake, and on one of the screens, and I think the guy turns away from the screen, so you're seeing a shot over his shoulder. to the screen and you see this woman coming down the stairs.
Yeah, we briefly discussed it.
I love that. It's still one of my favorite shots from that whole movie.
Well,
they never had one of those here. You never really had a moment.
Well, no, they cut out a lot of that, but also you got to remember that from perspective of you looking at it, it looks like a woman. But when they replay
yes,
it's all the different souls.
It's all of them. It's all. That's right. I mean, it was a marvelous moment.
It was a beautiful moment,
but we didn't have that here.
And those things are missing here. The subtleties, all missing in this film, which is why it's been streamlined.
No, this one is very much in your face.
It is very much in their face. The effects are very much in your face. And everything is pretty much in your face. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like the sequence with Griffin yet again, and the doll sequence or dolls sequence.
They didn't have one clown; they had a box of them,
which is meant to be scary, but. A lot of that stuff has happened to Griffin. I think the only thing that happens to Kendra is when she's in the laundry room sequence.
Yeah, that's the big one for her. It's the laundry room.
And then I try to remember. I don't think Sam Rockwell has one. The dad has the heir.
Not really. No, not really.
And then the mom only has hers at the end.
Right.
And of course, they're not building a pool in this movie.
Yeah, they don't have the pool. Yeah, they're too broke. So no, they're not going to do that.
The street just opens up,
right?
The soil, and you see a skeleton popped out for like 2 seconds.
Hello.
That's what you get. And that's why I said it's not nearly as effective as a film back in the 80s.
No, it's not. No.
And I would like to know, or one day I need to discuss with someone who's never seen the original film, has only seen the remake, and get their opinions on what exactly was good to them about the remake and what wasn't good. Because I think the only way to...
Because it's like a video game.
Yeah.
That's been my knock on so many films from, in this century, is that they're like watching a video game that you don't have, you're not playing, you're just watching now. And it's not good filmmaking. It's just not good filmmaking.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of remakes like this because they think
very much
most people watching remakes are the people who, for the nostalgia factor, watch the original. And so they can streamline a lot of the story elements and just get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
And, they're doing much better with that, in theory, when they do legacy sequels now, where they have original characters from the original series coming back. The new trend. We can't.
But no, that's a knock I have on a lot of contemporary films, that the storytelling style has disappeared.
Yeah, and it all depends on the audience. Unfortunately, this film, I'm not actually 100% sure who the audience is for. I was going to say younger people for this day and age.
They're younger than me, I think.
It's not really for nostalgia purposes for the original people who saw the original.
Maybe that's what bugged me a little bit about this one.
Well, the film wasn't really well.
Yeah, it was sort of like, hey, we don't care if you loved the one in the 80s. We're gonna do it like Sam's doing it.
It's and Raimi in Ghost House Pictures has produced several sequels. He's
done a lot of remakes, yeah.
But for some reason, this one did not click. Not just with me, but for a lot of audience members. I don't remember,
because it was a Spielberg movie, but this movie made money.
I can't remember if it did or didn't anymore.
It did. Well, it was a $35 million budget, and it initially returned $93 million. Now they say if you double your budget and what you take back in, that covers all of the marketing costs and stuff. So yeah, technically they made money.
Yeah, but they didn't make any more sequels after this one.
No, they didn't. The critics did not like the movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I know usually the money dictates it, but I'm surprised we didn't see another one come out. Maybe they agreed with me on the script of the Poltergeist 2 and 3 were so awful that no, we don't want to remake those.
They would have just come up with their own remake. That's how
they just couldn't come up with the story.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them, because the movie did not lend itself to they end it with our buddy there, with Jared Harris's character going back to his TV show,
Yeah, that was such a weird ending.
It was, very
he goes
strange.
there to lead them to the light, the souls to the light in the house. And he says he may not be back. And I'm like, well, I was hoping that you don't step into the light. Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, he does survive because for a moment on the screens, his ex-wife and the rest of the paranormal investigators are watching. They don't see him anymore. And
yep. Old Dr. Paul, yeah, they both end up hosting the new ghost show.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. No one currently dies in this movie.
I mean, if they're going to make a sequel off of this one, they would probably start with the TV show and try to do like what Conjuring did,
Yeah.
Which is like Ed and Lorraine Warren,
You could let's find it off with Burke.
No, I mean that would be the only way you could go with this thing, I could say.
Oh Jesus.
Don't do it, because the Conjuring did it so much better. So much better.
Yeah. And they still claim that for the most part, the Conjuring movies, not so much the spin-offs, the Conjuring movies are still inspired by actual cases.
So. Oh yeah, no, yeah, they all had some basis in one or a couple of the investigations that Ed and Lorraine Warren were famous for.
So, but I'm trying to.
But no, we're not different much in our perspectives of it. I was kinder to this film probably than you were.
Oh yeah, you were kind.
Because I've just gotten to the point where I accept the fact that so many films are like watching video games. Doesn't mean I like it, but it's just like, yeah, all right. Somebody out there likes it. Oh, somebody wants to. $90 million worth of tickets were sold for this thing first time around. So,
well, Ghost House, if I'm not mistaken, didn't have a whole lot of films that tanked the box office.
No, they didn't. No.
And Sam Raimi and his team have been very consistent with the movies they put out. They may have had a couple that didn't really click with audiences, but they're pretty much solid horror films.
I mean the Evil Dead films that they did do, but I thought one film that they did that I thought was very underrated, although it did very well, was Drag Me to Hell. I loved that film. That film was really a great horror film. The Grudge, pretty good stuff. They've done some good stuff.
Jesus, I forget. I think they did 3 Grudge movies.
At least 3 that I can think of. Yeah.
A franchise we will get to anytime soon, everybody.
Oh yeah.
So many splinters of the franchise that's called.
Yeah, they did 3 of them. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of Boogeyman movies. I haven't seen all of them.
I think they did 3 Boogeyman
movies. First couple ones that I saw were pretty good. They weren't bad.
Dude, I don't remember.
30 Days of Dark, and
30 Days of Night.
And then the original one. Yeah, that was the sequel. So, I mean, yeah, they've done some good stuff. And none of them have lost money. So, go figure. I think for me, it's probably more of a generational thing that a lot of people want their movies like that. They want a lot of action. They don't care about the storyline that much. And you give them cool effects and all that stuff, and they're happy. But I like that when I play there's a few video games I play that I like it in that, but I want my movies to have some story and character development.
I enjoy all that, but I also want my films to be more visually comprehensive.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
which is one of the reasons why I like the third Poltergeist film, because of some of the visual aspects of it that were present throughout the entire film. But with this remake, I don't feel anything towards anything particular. Not the first time I watched this film, and not the second time when I watched it for the podcast. It just seems to be a product of studio.
No, if I'm going to rewatch a Poltergeist film, I'm going to pull out 82.
So,
I'm going to pull out the original, and I can watch that over and over again and never get bored, even though I know how it's going to end.
Yeah,
I know all the hooks and stuff, but it's just such a fun movie to watch. But no, this one, once I realized I'd already seen it and stuff, I said, okay, I'll watch it for the podcast, but I had no interest in watching it again.
Yeah. So for everyone who's listening, if you haven't seen Poltergeist, the 2015 version, it follows the plot of the original Poltergeist film.
It is, and like I said, they try to totally just use the same story, but it's
been streamlined.
A very weird interpretation of it.
Now, there are some things they switched, and so they focused on the Griffin character / Robbie character.
More. Yes, yeah. The little boy has much more, does a whole lot more than the boy in the original one did.
Yeah. But when they do that, they cut into the actual family dynamic with the mother and child.
There is no family dynamic in this one. Yeah,
there isn't.
There really isn't. They're just characters on the screen.
Yeah, and that's one of the many faults of the film.
And I hate, like I said, I hate Sam Rockwell's character. I hate the way they did that one. He's just sort of a worthless individual. I mean, it's just like, I did find myself saying to the screen, just go get a job, for God's sake. Quit bitching, Don't be a victim. Go out and get some work, You can do that.
I am sure, he did. I don't know him, and I've never met him, but but this choice among many of his most brilliant films that he's done here seems to be he wanted the opportunity to play like a normal person. Well,
I would say, look, being an actor myself, I say, hey, this is a movie that's being produced by Sam Raimi, who I love his work. Loved all of his movies and stuff like that, and the paycheck was probably pretty good. It's a $35 million picture. It's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, the character's just awful. That is one of the worst parts of this whole movie.
All right. So, Jim, do you have any final thoughts about the 2015 remake of Poltergeist for our audience today?
No, this is just one that's sort of like, I remember you said you gave it a 6 on IMDb. I gave it a 7, which is just sort of like, when I give films a 7, it's usually just, they look nice or something. Right? It's just like, did nothing for me.
So everyone listening, I originally, when I first saw this movie 10 years ago in 2015, I originally gave this on IMDb a 6 out of 10 stars. That was part of the conversation me and Jim had earlier.
Right.
When we watched the film, just to give you reference for what we were talking about. That being said, we do rate the movies here on the show from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being excellent.
Oh, okay. I'll give it a 2.
You're going to give it a 2?
2, yeah.
It's hilarious because that's what I'm going to give it to.
Like I said, we're not there. Yeah, I could tell from, we weren't really that much different in our views on this. Different from different angles, but it still turned out the same.
I enjoy watching remakes. I think that remakes are a part of filmmaking.
Oh, yeah. I have no problems with that.
They are vital.
Yeah. There's some very good ones out there.
Yes, not only creatively for filmmakers, but also for audience members who, for a lot of times, may have never seen the original one. It's a little bit better if they watch a remake of a film that's, say, 50, 60 years old.
Yes.
They pretty much would be watching a movie that's way out of when they were even born. Remakes in that respects, I think, are vital because a lot of the times people who watch a remake will go back and watch the original film.
Yes, absolutely.
And I do that all the time, and I implore people who may not have seen this film to go back and watch the original film.
Yeah.
But not just this film, all remakes. If you go and see a remake, go back and watch the original film. I did that with we mentioned The Grudge. I watched all of the previous Ju-on movies.
Yep.
Ju-on the Curse, the Ju-on the Grudge, then watching The Grudge. So there's lots, it's the thing is, there is a lot to be said about the importance of remakes for our culture in filmmaking. Two of the best movies out there are remakes, David Cronenberg's The Fly and John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, those are two great examples.
Great examples of remakes. I mean, there's a place for them, and audiences obviously went back to watch the original ones. And I want to implore people to keep going out there and searching out for these films.
Yeah.
Sometimes we come across films that aren't that good. It's just the luck of the draw. There's 5 billion movies out there from all across the world in many different cultures. You're going to come across some stinkers here and there.
Oh yeah.
But I will say that even for foreign audiences, when a Poltergeist remake comes out, a lot of countries have not had access to the original.
That's very true.
Spielberg film, and the only access they have is for this film, the remake.
Yeah.
And then they go out and they try and they seek out the originals wherever they can find them, and that's where I see remakes having a vital importance to franchises. It's the reason why I believe that they're important. It's the reason why when we talk about franchises, we're also discussing the remakes in addition to the original films in the franchise, because they have a place. And I'm sure, 5-10 years from now, when it's been 20-25 years since this one came out, someone else will come out with a new version of Poltergeist. Hopefully it might be.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. Someone will think, they can tap the gold mine one more time and see if they can get it to deliver. I mean, this one did make a profit, and not as big of a profit as the original, but it did make a profit.
Yeah. And, someone with some creativity will come on. I mean, they're working on Mike Flanagan, working on a new version of Carrie. Carrie's been remade freaking 3-4 times.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one, because I did not like the first remake of Carrie at all.
Well, the first remake is the television remake with Angela Bettis.
Right. I didn't care for it at all.
Then the other one was the one with Chloe Grace Moretz, which is a more recent one, and of course,
and it's I know her family, that she's from the city I was living in before I moved to Atlanta, and her father is a doctor up in the part of the country in Georgia that I lived in, but and I like her. I think she's a really good actress, but that one just didn't work for me.
But we'll wait until that Poltergeist sequel comes out.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us on Conversations in Horror. Everyone out there, we hope that you've enjoyed listening to this podcast episode on Poltergeist 2015. Make sure to check out all the other episodes that we've highlighted for this franchise month, including
especially mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, those are all mine. Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, Jim, because you're the only one that wanted to talk to them.
I'm the Poltergeist guy. Yeah, see, nobody wanted to talk about Poltergeist.
Oh, Jesus.
Who are you going to call?
Please make sure to check out all of our previous episodes, and make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Regular episodes are released every Wednesday at 8 a.m. On Mondays, we release special episodes every once in a while, so keep on the lookout for those. From all of us at Something Wicked Entertainment, we want to wish you a pleasant day and keep watching those remakes.
Yeah, let's do some more found footage.
Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.